Story 15.
My name is Christina Crowder, and I was born on January 21st, 1969, in Portland, Oregon. Portland is a city of 2 million people situated in the northern part of Oregon, which is on the coast between Washington and California. I grew up in the suburb of Portland called Lake Oswego, which is somewhat more south on the Willamette River and surrounds a small lake. My parents are also from Oregon. My father grew up in Eugene, Oregon, and my mother grew up in a small town called Mill City, which is farther up the Willamette Valley near Salem. Their parents also came to Oregon quite early in its history. My mother's side of the family is Finnish, and they came to the United States around the turn of the century from Finland. My father's side of the family originates originally in England. They came to the United States in the 17th century. They settled up the Mackenzie River, which is another river farther up at the end of the Willamette Valley near Eugene. They were farmers and filbert growers and eventually settled in the town of Eugene, which is where my father was born. I also have a sister named Lisa, who is now 23 years old and is studying geology at the University of California in Santa Barbara. She's interested in studying the geology of the land underneath the ocean. My parents both work for a small community college in Portland. My father is a computer analyst and administrator, and my mother works in the personnel department. In their spare time, they both coach soccer teams for young people in the state of Oregon. I grew up in Lake Oswego and went to school at the local high school. Afterwards, I went to college in Tacoma, Washington. The school is called Pacific Lutheran University, and there I studied history and anthropology. In the middle of my studies, I went to England and studied for a year there, and was able to travel around and get a chance to see some of the English countryside and study at an English university. At that time, I also took my first trip to Hungary. I came to Hungary for the first time during spring vacation. I traveled with two girls, and we came to visit a friend of mine who lived in Budapest. That was the first time I'd ever heard Hungarian music, and I went to a táncház and was very interested in the folk culture. But I had to leave and go back to school, and I continued to study in England and then went back to the United States. After I graduated from high school, I started working in Seattle. I was a ski instructor and a ballroom dance instructor, and I worked in the coffee shops in Seattle and also down in the Pike Place Market, which is a very famous farmers market and quite a rare thing in the United States because very few farmers actually sell their produce to local markets. At that market, I worked in a bakery where we made fresh cinnamon rolls and sweets and cookies. And also I worked as a honey salesperson. Later, I also picked up work as a musician in Seattle playing Irish music, and that's when I first discovered the accordion, which is now what I do for a living professionally. In Budapest, I play in a band that plays traditional Eastern European klezmer music. But I'm also interested in Irish music and Bulgarian music and Hungarian music and music from the entire Eastern European region. I've now lived in Budapest for almost 3 years. Like I said before, I came to Budapest for the first time in 1990. At that time, I became so interested in the music that I decided that I had to come back. In 1993, I returned to Budapest to travel around and experience a little bit of the Hungarian countryside. But as it turned out, I ended up staying. I've been traveling around the region extensively and studying music and folklore and culture and studying the Hungarian language as well. In the meantime, I've also been working on my musical projects. As you might imagine, my hobbies include traveling, and I enjoy seeing different parts of Hungary and traveling throughout the region. I'm also interested in folk dancing, and I've been studying folk dance by going to the táncház on a weekly basis. I'm also interested in the textiles and the folk culture and have traveled in Romania extensively to collect different kinds of weavings and embroideries that are made by the peasants who live there, which includes shirts and handkerchiefs and costumes and tablecloths and all those kinds of things. My other pastime is cooking, which I do a lot of with my boyfriend Attila, who is also studying to be a chef, and we spend a lot of time sharing recipes.